welcome to another Checiegirl Creations DIY video. So today I will be creating 4 backgrounds for my deco art tags, and those will be on cardboard that I have gotten from a cereal box. So the first background I will be doing some jelly printing. So I'm using 4 different colors, blue mist, I can't remember what the purple's called exactly, cerulean blue and silver. And the blue mist and the purple you can get in a mixed media box. The blue one comes in the June one and the purple one comes in the December one. So please do check those out in the link below. And I'm just using a few different mark making tools. So you can see I kind of have those, like, I'm not sure what you call them. They're like squeegees, but with like designs cut into the edge so I can scrape in some designs. And I'm using my brayer, of course, to spread paint. And then I'm also using that kind of like roller that has dots on it. It didn't work extremely well, so I just kind of ended up pressing in the dots. And you can use stencils as well, but I just decided to stick with my mark making tools for now. So I'm just making sure that I don't really have any white space. And if you're wondering what my deco art tags look like, you can see some finished ones in the link below to my Tigtail site, and I have some new deco art tags available, so please do check those out, and you can see what they kind of look like at the end, and they all look different, but I do kind of make them to coordinate. So out of each sheet I will get 12 tags, and I cut them out using a die and my Sizzix Big Shot. And I'm just using like a scrap piece of paper. I forgot to mention you would need that as well, just to pick up any excess I want, and to also roll off my brayer and any of the paint I scrape off the jelly plate. And this jelly plate is 8 by 10, I believe. So you can see I'm using that paper there just to pick up any excess. And I'm just trying to do like block colors of stuff on that cardboard. So I'm pretty much done with that background. I clean my jelly plate with just some water and like paper towels and baby wipes. And now for the next one. So for this one, I'm using bright yellow green, orange cadmium hue, I believe it's called, or cadmium orange hue, and cadmium red, and some PVA glue to stick down that book paper. And you can see that I was trying to peel off like the packaging, but I couldn't peel it all off, so I thought I would just cover it up with some book paper. And this is all just scrap pieces of book paper I've used to cut stuff out of, so you can see there's quite a lot of empty space in there. And it's all just to create some nice texture, but I don't want it to be like too thick and lumpy because this is just a background. And I'm using this plastic palette knife to glue everything down, and if you're used to my videos then you would see that that's my favorite way to use it. And that PVA glue is just from Poundland, so nice and easy to get, and I do use a lot of PVA glue, so I'm always getting some more PVA glue. And I did want to leave some white space, so I am covering most of it but not all of it. And then I'm also going to use some washies. So I'm just picking out some red, green and orange washi to coordinate with the paint colors. And some of it is washi tape and some of it is paper tape. So that polka dot tape is paper tape. I got from the Works quite a while ago. And so that's also a really nice way to add some texture. So I'm just sticking those down in some different areas. Some of it will show through the paint and some won't, because I do plan to water down the paint quite a bit. And this background is a lot more involved than the jelly plate one, because I do have to let this dry between each layer. And even though that could be a good idea with the jelly plate, I wasn't too bothered since I was just using the same colors over and over again. So I did have to let it dry completely dry before I added paint. So I've watering down the paint and adding a lot of water because I've also sprayed the surface as well to make sure it like kind of drips and stuff and looks I was first looking for it to like look like watercolors, but it ended up quite thick. And when it was finished, it had a bit of a glossy look to it. So I'm thinking that's because I used so much glue and the paint layer was quite thick. So I really like the outcome of this one. And when I'm adding the green, I'm trying my best for it to not look muddy. It does look muddy a little bit in some areas, but what's nice about creating one big background for small items, once you cut it out, you don't notice those little flaws at all. So I'm just dripping and splashing just to make sure everything looks really nice and blended. And I'm also going to add some gold in there as well. I do like my gold. So I'm just finishing off, blending it in some more areas, adding some more splashes, and then I'll put that aside to dry. And you can see that's covered in lots of texture. And I'm also using another scrap piece of paper just to put any of the excess paint I haven't used on there because I don't want to waste. And these pieces of paper will go towards my pocket art journals, and I'll also put a link to those as well. Okay, so this one, I'm using this Dot Crafts A5 clear stamp set, and that's a paisley design. First, I was going to use this clear ink pad from Hobbycraft with some ultra thick embossing powder by Ranger, but then I used an embossing pad, and now I'm using some stamp pads. So that's purple, this is Xmas, Christmas red, dark blue, yellow, light blue, orange, lime green, and as you're probably guessing, I'm going to do a rainbow background. So first I thought I would do a kind of resist. So I'm going to use the stamp and the ultra thick embossing powder to create a resist. But what I think went wrong is that one, I don't think the clear stamp was sticky enough, but I think the ultra thick embossing powder was just too thick for the designs of the stamp. So in the end, I just ended up splashing on some color, not some color, sorry, some water, and that stuck down the embossing powder not too badly. So that's how I kind of got around that. So I'm just going to have to experiment with ultra thick embossing powder. I've never used it before and I got it for Christmas and I thought I would finally use it. So you can see I've splashed on the water and I'm just adding the embossing powder. And so now I'm just going to heat it with the heat gun, and I've made sure my heat gun is nice and hot, and I'm just going to go over that and make sure everything is melted. And while I'm doing that, I thought I would tell you that you can see a lot of these like behind the scene pictures on my Instagram account and Facebook group. So please do follow those links in the description. You can see where you can follow me on all my social media platforms. And you can get all sorts of like close looks into what I'm doing in my day. And because sometimes not everything I make gets on YouTube. So like the pocket journal kits, I have all those photos on my social media pages, so like my Facebook group and my Instagram page, so that you can see what's going on, but that will make it on YouTube. So that's quite a nice way to see what I'm doing. So now I'm just pressing these ink pads onto my surface, and I'm kind of doing what you could do with like distress ink pads or distress oxide. And since I don't have those, I just thought I would use my pigment ink stamp pads. And you can see, of course, it didn't do what a distress ink pad would do. So I'm just making it blend a little bit more with some chalk primer, which you can get from my March mixed media box. And I'll link that below as well. There's still a couple in stock if you were interested. And then I was just adding some different splashes of course, all the rainbow colors using my spray inks, which were made with either food coloring or calligraphy ink. So I did that and I added some gold splashes as well. And now I'm just, because I'm also making backgrounds for my pocket art journal kits, I'm just spraying onto the surface since there was already some like color on it from when I was doing my splashes. And I'm just going to pick up the color with the paper. And instead of using gold spray, I did use silver spray on that one. So this background, which I believe is the last, I'm using tissue paper, PVA glue to stick that down, and I'm scrumpling that tissue paper up to add some texture and I'm also using just some cheap markers. I'm not sure where they are. My friend gave them to me. She didn't want them anymore. And they're nice and juicy, and you'll see how I'll use those in a little bit. And again, I'm using my palette knife to stick everything down. And this is one of my this is what I used to do a lot when I first started off in mixed media to add texture. I always used tissue paper, and since it was so readily available, because like from shoe boxes and packaging, that's where I get most of my tissue paper from. It's really nice to use to add some subtle texture. And I think I might add some gesso. I'm not sure if I do add any gesso. I think I just added glue, but you'll see in a little bit. Oh no, I did add some chalk primer, actually, not gesso, chalk primer, to just add a little bit more texture, as well as cover up that little like packaging as well. And then once that's all dry and really dry, I'm going to color onto my stamp block and kind of press on, like spray it with water and then press onto the cardboard. And that's how I'm just applying the color using my markers. But as I go along, it was just too light for me and too subtle. I needed it to be a little bit stronger. So I do end up using these like kind of water soluble pastels from Hobbycraft, and they're like really soft like lipstick. And I do scribble over and add some more color there and spray it with some water. So you'll see that in a little bit, but you'll see that's quite a nice subtle way to add some color. And I'm just wiping off my stamp block onto a scrap piece of paper, and I'm just making sure that's all dry. And that'll probably be really nice on like a card to just add some subtle color. So there are the watercolor pastels, and it comes in a range of colors. And I'm just going to use them to scribble on some color. And you can see that's a lot more vibrant. And you'll see what happens when I add water, because I didn't really want it to blend in, so you can still see those scribbles. So while I'm doing that, I used yellows, greens, and some blues. Those are the color schemes, and I always try to create, when I'm doing a whole bunch of backgrounds for my tags, I do try to choose quite a few different color combos just to make it a nice variety. So what I would do then is add different embellishments like chipboard pieces and stuff. So I'm going to have to go and get some of those. So you can see I'm spraying the surface and then using the stamp block to spread around the color. So that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click that bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a video. So thanks again for watching. Please do check out my mixed media boxes, which are available, both the previous box and the present March box as well. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye!